The night was unusually quiet when James Miller heard the strange sound from his greenhouse. Living alone on the edge of Pine Valley meant he was used to all sorts of noises: wild animals, wind in the trees, and the occasional lost hiker. But this sound was different. It was like nothing he had ever heard before, a mix between a soft whimper and an electronic hum. James put down his book and grabbed his flashlight. At 42 years old, he had spent the last 5 years living in this remote house, growing his plants, and doing his research in peace. He liked it this way: just him, his greenhouse full of medicinal plants, and the quiet forest around him. The sound came again, louder this way. James walked slowly toward his greenhouse, the beam of his flashlight cutting through the darkness. The glass walls of the building gleamed in the light, and through them, he could see something glowing with a faint blue color. "Hello," he called out, his hand shaking slightly as he reached for the greenhouse door. "Is someone there?" The answer was a weak moan, followed by what sounded like words in a language he had never heard before. James took a deep breath and opened the door. The warm, humid air of the greenhouse hit his face, carrying the familiar smell of earth and growing things. But there was something else now. A metallic scent, like copper or blood. His flashlight beam found her among his rows of healing herbs. She was lying there, curled up between the feverfew and the echinacea, and James's mind struggled to process what he was seeing. She looked almost human, but her skin had a silvery sheen to it, and patterns of soft blue light pulsed across her face and arms. She was wearing what looked like a torn spacesuit, and dark liquid, blood, was seeping from a wound in her side. When she saw him, she tried to move away, but the pain made her gasp. "Please," she said, and James jumped when he realized she was speaking English. Her voice had a strange echo to it, like it was coming through some kind of computer. "Help. No harm. Running from bad ones." James stood frozen for a moment. Everything he knew about the world told him this couldn't be real. Aliens weren't real. This had to be a dream or a hallucination. But then she moved again, and her face twisted in pain, and something in James's heart broke a little. Whatever she was, wherever she came from, she was hurt and scared and asking for help. "It's okay," he said softly, kneeling down beside her. "I won't hurt you. I'm James. I grow healing plants. I might be able to help." She looked at him with eyes that were too large and too purple to be human, but they were filled with very human pain and fear. "Rose," she said suddenly, pointing weakly at the climbing roses that grew along the greenhouse wall. "Call me Rose. Earth name. Easier." James couldn't help but smile a little at that. Here was an alien being, probably from light years away, choosing to call herself Rose because she saw his garden. It was somehow both bizarre and perfectly simple. "Okay, Rose," he said, already thinking about which of his plants might help with her injuries. "I'm going to help you, but first we need to get you somewhere safer than the greenhouse floor. Can you walk if I help you?" She nodded slowly, and as James carefully helped her to her feet, he realized his quiet life had just become very complicated. But looking at the grateful expression on her alien face, he knew he was doing the right thing. Sometimes being human meant helping others, no matter how strange or unexpected they might be. As they made their slow way toward his house, James saw a faint light streak across the night sky. Something told him this was just the beginning of a much bigger story. James helped Rose into his small living room and carefully set her down on his old couch. In the better light, he could see her injuries more clearly. The wound on her side was about 6 inches long, and though the bleeding had slowed, it still looked bad. Her silvery skin was bruised in several places, turning a strange dark blue color. "I need to clean these wounds," James said slowly, making sure his voice stayed calm and gentle. "But I don't know if human medicines will work on you. Can you tell me what might help?" Rose touched a small device on her neck, and her voice came through a bit clearer this time. "Translator, working better now," she said. Your plants might help. My people we heal. Similar to humans. Just faster. James nodded and went to his cabinet where he kept his medicinal supplies. After years of studying plants, he had learned to make his own medicines. He grabbed clean cloths, purified water, and several bottles of his herbal remedies. "How did you learn our language so quickly?" he asked as he began cleaning her wounds. He was trying to keep her talking, both to learn more and to distract her from the pain. "Universal Translator," Rose explained, pointing to the small device on her neck. "Learns from brain patterns. Your language is simple compared to some." She tried to smile but winced instead. As James worked, Rose told him more about herself. She was a medical researcher, studying healing methods from different worlds. Her ship had been peacefully exploring the edge of Earth's solar system when they were attacked by pirates who wanted their advanced medical technology. "Used escape pod," she said, her voice getting stronger as James applied a mixture of yarrow and plantain to help stop the bleeding. "Pirates shot. Pod damage. Crashed in woods. Saw your greenhouse. Plants like home." James listened carefully as he worked. The herbal medicines seemed to be helping. Her wound was already looking better than it had just an hour ago. "Your body heals very fast," he observed, applying a fresh bandage. "Yes," Rose said. "My people. Quick healing. But your plants, they help too. Interesting mix of things in them. Different from home, but good." Outside, the night had grown darker, and rain had started to fall. The sound of it on the roof made James feel strangely peaceful, despite the bizarre situation. Here he was, treating an alien with homemade herbal medicines, and somehow it felt almost normal. "You need rest," he said, finishing with the bandages. "You can take my bed. I'll sleep out here and keep watch." Rose looked at him with those strange purple eyes. "Why help me?" she asked. "Could be dangerous. Could bring trouble." James thought about it for a moment. "Because you needed help," he said simply. "And because I'm curious. I've spent my life studying how plants can heal people. Now I'm learning they can heal beings from other worlds too. That's pretty amazing." A small smile appeared on Rose's face, making her bioluminescent markings glow a bit brighter. "Humans are interesting," she said. "Most species run from different. You help different." As James helped her to the bedroom, he saw more lights in the sky through his window. They weren't stars. They were moving too purposefully for that. He quickly closed all the curtains in the house. "Those lights," he said, "are they the pirates?" Rose's markings dimmed slightly. "Yes," she whispered. "Looking for me. For research data. Must hide. Must plan." James looked at his quiet home, his herb cabinet, his books about plants. Everything seemed so simple and ordinary. But now it would all need to be used in ways he never imagined. Somehow, he would need to find a way to protect Rose from creatures who had technology far beyond his understanding. And strangely, he felt ready for the challenge. James woke up early the next morning to find Rose studying his herb collection with great interest. Her wounds were already looking much better, and she moved more easily now. The translator at her neck had fully adapted to English, making her speech clearer. "These plants," she said, holding up a jar of dried lavender, "they have similar chemical structures to healing plants on my world. But some compounds are different. Better, maybe." Before James could reply, a low humming sound filled the air. Rose froze, her bioluminescent markings dimming to almost nothing. "Ships," she whispered. "They're scanning the area." James quickly pulled her away from the windows. "What exactly are they looking for?" he asked. "My biosignature," Rose explained. "Every species has a unique energy pattern. Their scanners can detect it from orbit. But," she looked thoughtfully at the herbs, "maybe we can mask it." For the next hour, they worked together in James's kitchen. Rose explained the science while James mixed herbs. It turned out that certain earth plants could interfere with the scanner's ability to detect alien life signs. James combined feverfew, mugwort, and several other herbs known for their strong electromagnetic properties. On my world, Rose said as she watched him work, we combine technology and nature. But this is clever in a different way. Simple but effective. The humming grew louder. Through the kitchen window, James saw 3 dark shapes moving through the morning sky. They looked like metal triangles, each one about the size of a car. His hand shook slightly as he finished mixing the herbs. Here, he said, handing Rose a cup of the strong-smelling tea. Drink this. The compound should interact with your body chemistry and help hide your energy signature. Rose drank without hesitation, trusting him completely. James felt honored by that trust, but also worried. If he was wrong, if this didn't work. The scanner ships moved closer. One of them stopped directly above James's house. The humming became so intense that his teeth vibrated. Rose pressed herself into a corner, trying to make herself as small as possible. Minutes passed. James hardly dared to breathe. Then, slowly, the ships began to move away. The humming faded. It worked, Rose said in amazement. They can't detect me. Your plants actually blocked their scanners. Her markings glowed brightly with excitement. James let out a long breath. Good, he said, but they might come back. We need a better plan. Rose nodded. The pirates won't give up easily. The medical research I carry. She touched a small device hidden in her suit. It could change healing across the galaxy, make it possible to treat almost any species with natural compounds. That's why they want it. Then we'll protect it, James said firmly. My plants fooled their scanners once. Maybe we can use them for more than just hiding. Rose looked at him curiously. What do you mean? James walked to his bookshelf and pulled out an old volume about poisonous plants. Not all plants heal, he said. Some can defend. I've studied both kinds. If those pirates want to come down here and look for you in person, maybe we should prepare a few surprises for them. For the first time since he'd met her, Rose smiled fully. The sight was strange but wonderful, her alien features lighting up with hope. You would do that? Risk yourself to help me? James thought about the ships in the sky, about the pirates who would hurt anyone to get what they wanted. He thought about Rose, who had trusted him without question. The choice seemed simple. Yes, he said. Now let me tell you about some interesting plants I grow in the back garden. Plants that most people stay far away from. Outside, the scanner ships had vanished into the clouds. But James knew they'd be back. And when they came, he would be ready. Sometimes the simplest solutions were the best ones, even against enemies from the stars. While they waited for the pirates' next move, James and Rose spent their time sharing knowledge. The greenhouse became their classroom, with rows of plants serving as their teaching tools. James found that Rose was an eager student of Earth's botanical medicine, and he was just as fascinated by her stories of healing practices from other worlds. This is remarkable, Rose said, examining a simple aloe plant. On my world, we have something similar, but it took us centuries to develop it in our labs. Here it just grows. Her markings pulsed with excitement as she touched the thick leaves. James watched her handle the plant with careful fingers. Nature had a long time to figure things out, he said. Millions of years of evolution. Sometimes that works better than a lab. Rose pulled out a small device from her suit and held it over the aloe plant. A soft blue light scanned the leaves, and tiny symbols appeared in the air above it. The chemical structure is almost perfect, she said. Simple but effective, like many things about Earth. They moved through the greenhouse, with Rose scanning different plants and James explaining their uses. When they reached his section of mushrooms, Rose's eyes grew even wider. These fungi, she said, they communicate through networks underground. When James nodded, she continued, we have entire space stations built on this principle. Living ships that share information through biological networks. But again, you have it naturally. James listened as Rose explained more about her people's technology. They had amazing machines and could travel between stars, but they had lost something along the way. Their worlds were too controlled, too artificial. They had to create in laboratories what Earth produced naturally. That's why my research is so important, Rose said, sitting down on a garden stool. I'm studying how different worlds heal. Not just the technology, but the natural ways. The pirates who attacked us, they only want the advanced parts. They don't understand that the real value is in combining both. James thought about this as he checked on his deadly nightshade plants, which he was preparing for their defense. Maybe that's why Earth hasn't been contacted yet, he said. Maybe we're not as primitive as we seem. Just different. Rose's markings glowed softly in agreement. Your world is young, but full of wisdom. You understand things my people have forgotten. Like these, she pointed to the defensive plants James was growing. Using nature to protect nature, we would have built weapons instead. A sudden noise from outside made them both freeze. James quickly turned off the greenhouse lights, and they waited in darkness. After a few tense moments, they realized it was just a deer in the garden. We don't have much time, Rose said quietly. The pirates will figure out how we block their scanners. They'll come in person next. James nodded, continuing to work with his plants. Then we'll be ready. Your technology combined with Earth's natural defenses. They won't expect that. Rose watched him work for a moment, then said something that surprised him. You're not afraid, she observed. Most beings would have turned me away or called their authorities. But you chose to help. Fear doesn't help solve problems, James replied, carefully mixing some plant extracts. And you needed help. Sometimes it's that simple. Simple, Rose repeated, as if testing the word. Yes, my people often make things too complicated. We look for complex solutions when simple ones are better. Outside, the sun was setting, painting the sky in deep oranges and purples. Soon it would be dark again, and the pirates might return. But James felt ready. Everything he needed was right here in his greenhouse. The wisdom of Earth's plants combined with Rose's advanced knowledge. Sometimes the best solutions came from learning from each other. The pirates came at midnight. James was checking his greenhouse defenses one last time when he saw their ships land in the clearing behind his house. 3 dark triangular vessels touched down silently, their metal surfaces gleaming in the moonlight. They're here, he whispered to Rose, who was helping him prepare the last batch of plant extracts. Are you ready? Rose nodded, her markings glowing very faintly in the darkness. Remember, their suits protect them from energy weapons, she said. But they won't expect natural toxins. They don't think Earth plants can hurt them. James watched through the greenhouse glass as figures emerged from the ships. They wore black armor that made them look like giant insects, with glowing red visors where their eyes should be. 6 of them, all carrying weapons that looked like they came from a science fiction movie. Scan the area, a deep voice commanded. Their translator devices made their words sound rough and mechanical. Find the researcher, and if any locals interfere, eliminate them. James felt a chill at those words, but he didn't move. Everything was prepared. All around the greenhouse and garden, his most dangerous plants were ready. Poison ivy enhanced with Rose's technology to grow incredibly fast. Deadly nightshade extract in hidden sprayers. Mushroom spores that would clog their suit filters. The pirates spread out, their weapons ready. One of them approached the greenhouse, its heavy boots crushing James's flower beds. Rose touched his arm gently. Last chance to run, she whispered. This isn't your fight. James shook his head. My home, my rules, he said quietly. Let's show them what Earth plants can do. The pirate reached for the greenhouse door. James pressed a button on the sprayer system he'd set up. Enhanced poison ivy burst from hidden pots, growing at impossible speeds. The pirate stumbled back, shouting in alarm as the vines wrapped around its suit. Intruder, it yelled. The human is help. The words cut off as James activated the nightshade sprayers. Fine mist filled the air. The pirates' suits might stop energy weapons, but they weren't designed to filter out natural toxins. Two of them fell immediately, their suits' filters overwhelmed. "Find them," the leader shouted. "Burn everything." But as the pirates tried to advance, more traps activated. Mushroom spores clogged their visors. Enhanced stinging nettles grew through cracks in their armor. Every step they took triggered another natural defense. "Impossible," one pirate screamed. "Their weapons are primitive." "How are they?" Rose stepped out of the shadows then, holding up a small device. "You wanted my research," she called out. "Here it is. The power of combining advanced technology with natural evolution. Something you'd never understand." The pirate leader raised his weapon, but James was ready. He triggered his last trap, a mixture of skunk cabbage extract and Rose's chemical enhancers. The smell was so powerful it overloaded the pirates' suit sensors completely. In the chaos that followed, the remaining pirates stumbled back to their ships, dragging their unconscious companions. Their perfect armor was covered in earth plants, their sensors ruined by simple natural compounds. "This isn't over," the leader growled as they retreated. "We'll be back with better equipment." James watched the ships take off, their engines glowing bright against the night sky. Beside him, Rose's markings were glowing with triumph. "They won't be back," she said confidently. "Their suits cost millions in their currency. We just defeated them with garden plants. Their pride won't let them admit that." James looked at his greenhouse, now covered in rapidly growing vines and scattered with leaves. It would take weeks to clean up the mess, but as he watched the pirate ships disappear into the stars, he couldn't help smiling. Sometimes the simplest solutions were the most powerful ones. The morning after the battle, James and Rose surveyed the damage to the greenhouse. Broken glass crunched under their feet as they walked through, checking on the plants. Many pots were overturned, and vines from their enhanced poison ivy still grew everywhere. "Your garden fought well," Rose said, touching a damaged tomato plant gently. Her markings glowed with a soft, sad light. "I'm sorry about the destruction." James was already gathering tools to start repairs. "Plants can grow back," he said. "That's the amazing thing about nature. It always finds a way to recover." He started carefully pruning back the overgrown defensive plants they had created. Rose helped him clean up, but she seemed distracted. Finally, she spoke. "The pirates will tell others about this, about how Earth plants defeated their advanced technology. It will change how the galaxy sees your world." James paused in his work. "Is that bad?" "No," Rose said, her markings brightening. "It's wonderful. My research was about proving that less advanced worlds often have valuable knowledge, that natural methods can work better than technology. You just proved it better than any experiment could." She pulled out her scanning device and showed it to James. Holographic images appeared above it, showing complex chemical structures. "Look at what your plants did to their suits. The natural toxins found ways through their filters that no engineered weapon could. It's brilliant in its simplicity." James watched as more images appeared, showing how their combined techniques had worked. The enhanced growth rates from Rose's technology, mixed with the natural defense compounds of Earth plants, had created something entirely new. "We should document everything," Rose said excitedly. "The combinations we used, how the plants responded to the enhancements, all of it. This could revolutionize defense systems across the galaxy. Natural protection instead of artificial weapons." As they worked on cleaning and documenting, a new sound filled the air. But this wasn't the threatening hum of pirate ships. This sound was lighter, almost musical. Rose's markings suddenly glowed very bright. "My people," she said. "They found me." A ship appeared in the sky above the greenhouse. Unlike the black triangles of the pirates, this one was organic-looking, with smooth curves and surfaces that seemed to flow like water. It landed gently in the clearing, barely disturbing the grass. The ship's side opened like a flower blooming, and 3 figures stepped out. They looked similar to Rose, with silvery skin and glowing markings, but their patterns were different. They wore simple white clothing that seemed to move with them like living things. The rescue team, Rose explained to James. But they're not just rescuers. See the markings on their shoulders. They're senior researchers. They must have tracked the pirates here. The aliens approached slowly, their markings glowing in patterns that James guessed were some form of communication with Rose. They stopped at the greenhouse entrance, looking at the remnants of the battle with clear interest. "Welcome to Earth," James said, feeling a bit awkward. "Would you like to see our garden?" Rose translated for them, and their markings pulsed with what seemed like surprise and curiosity. One of them spoke, and Rose translated back. "They say they've never seen anything like this," she said. "The way you combine simple plants with advanced technology. They want to know everything about how we did it." James looked at his damaged but surviving greenhouse, at the mixture of earth plants and alien technology they had created together. Sometimes the best discoveries came from the most unexpected situations. "Well," he said, picking up his gardening tools, "let me show you how it all works. But first, we should probably fix this greenhouse." 1 month after the battle with the pirates, James's greenhouse looked better than ever. The broken glass had been replaced with a new material that Rose's people provided, something that looked like glass, but was as strong as steel. The plants thrived under its perfect light filtration. "Your tomatoes are growing twice as fast now," Rose said, checking the readings on her scanner. She had stayed on Earth while her people set up an official research station in orbit, and they have even more healing compounds than before. James nodded, carefully tending to a new section of plants they had created together. This area contained Earth species enhanced with alien technology, but in a way that kept their natural properties intact. The results were remarkable. "The mushroom network is talking to the station," Rose continued, showing him the flowing symbols above her scanner. "Just like I told you, Earth life wants to communicate. It just needed the right tools to reach further." Their work had caused quite a stir among Rose's people. The combination of Earth's natural diversity with their advanced technology was opening new possibilities no one had imagined. But more importantly, it had changed how they saw less advanced worlds. "The Council wants to make you Earth's first official consultant," Rose said, her markings glowing with happiness. "They've never given that title to someone from a pre-space travel world before. But after what you did with the pirates..." James looked up from his plants. "What exactly would that mean?" "You'd help us understand Earth's plants, how they can be used, how they work with our technology. We'd build you a proper research facility here." Rose gestured around the greenhouse. "Much bigger than this, and you'd have access to our knowledge too." "Would I have to leave Earth?" James asked, thinking about his quiet home and peaceful garden. Rose's markings pulsed with amusement. "No, that's the whole point. We need you here, working with Earth's nature directly. You've proved that sometimes the simplest solutions are the best ones. We don't want to change that." James thought about how much his life had changed since that night he found Rose in his greenhouse. He'd helped an alien, fought off space pirates with garden plants, and discovered that Earth's simple nature could match the most advanced technology in the galaxy. "There's more," Rose said, a bit nervously. "The Council also appointed me as permanent head researcher for the Earth Station. If you agree, we'd be working together, combining our knowledge just like before." James smiled. He'd grown used to Rose's presence in his greenhouse, her excitement about every new plant discovery, her way of seeing Earth's nature with fresh eyes. The thought of continuing their work together felt right. "Well," he said, "my garden could use some expansion." Rose's markings glowed brighter than he'd ever seen them. Above them, barely visible in the daylight, the research station orbited quietly. It was designed to look like a star to anyone watching from Earth, just another light in the night sky. "You know," James said, checking on the new batch of enhanced healing plants they were growing, "when I first found you in my greenhouse, I never imagined it would lead to all this." "That's what I love about your world," Rose replied. "You never know what simple things will turn out to be amazing." She touched one of the glowing plants gently. Just like your gardens. Simple but powerful. Like humanity itself. James looked at his greenhouse, now a bridge between Earth and the stars. Sometimes the biggest adventures started with the smallest acts of kindness. And sometimes the most important discoveries weren't about finding new things, but about seeing the simple things in a new way. Well then, he said, picking up his gardening tools, let's see what else we can discover together.